Hi guys, and welcome to a new Dawn. I am Dawn, and this is part 4 of inviting the monster in. Y'all, if you've been here for part 1, 2, and 3, I'm just literally gonna jump right in just to kind of wrap everything up. So let's get into it. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna spin the block just a little bit. I'm gonna talk about a previous relationship real quick. Just a little background information about me, guys. I'm no expert in relationships. I'm actually probably the last person to ask about relationship advice, what to do behind a man, how to have a man, how to get a man, how to be with. I'm the last person for that. Okay, this ain't that. I don't have a lot of experience. I've had 2 long-term relationships in my entire life, and I've done some dating and some kicking it and whatever in between. And at this point in my life, I've just gotten to where I need a break. I need a break from all of that. It is time for me to take care of me. It is time for me to enjoy my life. First of all, take care of me, enjoy my life, do the things that makes me happy. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not giving up on love. I definitely think there's something to be said about finding your mate, a companion. It is something that I still desire. It just ain't something I'm thinking about right now. But anyway, I want to spin a block just a little and talk about my first relationship, because sometimes I feel like when I reflect on that a little bit, it aligns and kind of makes sense to how I got to where I was in my last relationship. So just hear me out. And I'm gonna do a condensed version. So my very first long-term relationship, I actually met this guy when I was 15 years old on New Year's Eve at a party, and it was a high school party at Golden Skates, if anybody remembers that. It was a skating party. So I wasn't no young hot fast thing. Don't get it twisted. But I met him at a party. He did not go to my school. He was a couple years older than me. So it was New Year's Eve. My birthday's in January. I was going on 16. You know, my mama old school, so I was actually not allowed to date until I was 16, and that actually meant 16, almost 18 and out of the house, okay? And I wasn't allowed to date anyone who I couldn't bring home to meet my mom first, right? So this guy I met was a little bit older than me. He was already 18. His birthday is in October. But we just met at a party. It was like very casual. We exchanged numbers. We started talking. I knew him from the time I was 15 going on 16 until probably the last time I talked to him, I was a good 30. Okay, it's like a long time. It was a long time frame that I was kicking it with this guy. I was in high school. He was in high school. He ended up graduating high school, went off to college in another state, came back home when I was on my way to college. And then I went on to college, ended up graduating, coming back home. Really, I was missing home a little bit, but he was definitely a part of a reason why I came back home. And we didn't actually become a couple until that point. I was probably 22 maybe, and I might have been home and here for a while. It might have been 23 when we actually called it boyfriend and girlfriend. And then we were together for probably 4 years. And then we broke up, and then we were back on and off and on and off until I was like, that's enough. I've legit had enough. You're wasting my time. So let me go back and say we met at this party. He asked me for my number. He didn't tell me until quite some time later that he actually didn't ask me for my number. We were dancing and he was behind me, and I heard him over my ear. He told me his cousin is the one who asked me for my number. And because I turned around and, you know, there was some words before that, obviously, but because I kind of engaged, he went along with it. At this point in my life, that is very telling about how that whole relationship went. I didn't know that at the time that we met, but that's how he felt. So I felt like he asked me for my number, and he felt like I asked him. So from the beginning, we were already not on the same page, okay? Some of the things that happened during that relationship, like I said, we were We knew each other. We kind of was kicking it with each other for a very, 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 very long time before we actually became a couple. I remember the summer that I graduated college is when we linked up for the first time. So that was my first. I obviously had a couple first experiences with him because I wasn't allowed to date until I was 16. Okay. I remember that summer before I went to college. I remember us, just talking about future plans with each other and everything. I thought he was going back to school and he decided not to. And I think he kind of felt a way about me going to school in Michigan and thought that I was going to stay at home. And I remember being like, why would I do that? You're not here, Still, it was a disconnect. And this whole time we weren't actually a couple. We just kind of was kicking in and talking to each other. I was young, y'all, and he really was the only person I was talking to semi-seriously. And I really liked him. Well, I'll tell y'all the truth of it is that by the end of that summer, like right before I left to go to college, two major things happened before I left to go to college. Actually, one major thing happened before I left to go to college. He made a joke with me about seeing other people. And I remember being like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Now, before that, he kind of alluded to wanting to, be with me, kick it with me, be in a relationship with me, but we weren't in a relationship with each other. He was the only one I was talking to seriously. And he led me to believe I was the only person that he was talking to seriously. But he was like, I don't want to be your boyfriend and you're going away to college, right? But we can still kick it, right? And I know he mentioned something about getting a girlfriend to keep him company while I was away. And I was like, why would you do that? Like, I'm not planning on talking to anybody else. If we're trying to be together and wait for each other to get out of college and then plan this life together, why would you kick it with somebody else? And he just kept going, about it. And the thing is, he was a jokester. He was laughing about it. He was trying to be silly. And I said very sarcastically, like he was like, well, what would you do if I got a girlfriend? And I was like, get a girlfriend and find out what I'm gonna do, right? Talking just big stuff. Never in a million years did I think he was actually going to do that. So I go off to college, go on about my business. I'm talking to him all the time because back then, I think it was long distance to talk to him. I can't remember. I might have had a pager or something back then, but I would figure out how to talk to him like on a regular basis. And then every time I would come home from school, I would see him. We might have been writing letters back and forth to each other. I really can't remember. It's been so many years ago. Well, that second year, so I finished my freshman year of college. Didn't date anybody my freshman year of college. Made a lot of friends, but never dated anybody. Holding on to this guy, right? My second year, so I come home that summer before my sophomore year and we kicked it the whole summer. Still not my boyfriend, but I'm living my best life, right? Like, I'll be honest, I was clubbing, I was kicking it with my girlfriend. Sometimes I would see him out. He was working third shift, and so if he wasn't out at the same places that I would swing by. Like, me and her would swing by his job after we would leave the club just so I could say hi. Sometimes I bring him something to eat. I was sneaking around too, right? So there was times where like maybe me and her used to kick it all the time. So we would kick it Thursday to Sunday and then get back up, start over again. Next week it'd be Tuesday to Sunday. So we was kicking it all the time. Where there would be times that I'm like, we're not going to kick it tonight. I want to do something with him, but I'm going to say I'm with you, that type of thing. So me and him was hanging out. We hung out the whole summer. Before the end of that summer, so before I went back to school, he hit me in the mouth with, he got somebody pregnant. And it messed me up, y'all. It messed me up. I was devastated. I could not believe he did that. And when he told me that she was probably 5 or 6 months pregnant at that point. So I had literally been home the whole summer before he let me know. Long story short, I didn't want to fool with him after that, and I didn't. I went to school, I kicked it, I was doing my own thing. Me and him still was talking, right? And one of the biggest things that came out of that was at the time that happened, he really was like, number one, we're not together, which was true, right? And number two, he was like, well, I asked you about getting a girlfriend and having somebody keep me company while you're gone, and you said okay. Even though I said okay, but it was like very clearly sarcastic. right? But he would use that, like he would say that against me to be like, this is the reason why I did what I did. And me being young and dumb at the time, I went for that garbage, okay? And long story short, I went for some garbage for many years after that. Like many years after that. I've messed around with this guy for such a long time, because remember, we was kicking it long before we actually settled down and called ourselves a couple. And then I was with him for years, and then we was off and on. So I went for that nonsense. I ended up, going about my business. I never dated anybody while I was in college, because I just had this guy making me feel like he made a mistake. He wants to be with me, but he'll wait until I get out of college so we can be in the same place at the same time to be together. And that's one of the reasons, like I said, why I moved back home. I moved back home, and I found out when I got back home, he kicked it with somebody else. And the crazy thing is, and this is a story for another day, that somebody else he kicked it with, the girl who was supposed to be my friend, my best friend, she run around telling everybody I'm her best friend at the time, hooked them up. And she knew I was seeing him, and she knew what time it was, and she told him I was at college and I was wilding out basically. And she hooked him up with her friend. Her sister is the one who told me all of that was going on. So the two of them had kept that from me for months, smiling in my face, kept the whole secret from me. Her sister told me, and me and him fell out. We fell out. I fell out with her. What's crazy, y'all, is after about a year, him and I, he weaseled his way back in. And when he came back in after that year, that's when we actually became a couple. And when we was together, everything was fine and dandy. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad. But he had a kid, remember? And one of the things I'll always remember about him and his child is that he kept her away from me. He never brought her around me. He also would drive my car. So he would drive my car back and forth to work. He would drive my car back and forth to go pick her up, take her home, spend time with her, whatever, but never with me. He kept her away from me the whole time. And I say that and bring it up because when I entered into the relationship, that was my last relationship with my ex who was abusive, he brought his daughter around me from the very beginning. And from the very beginning, he expressed that he wanted a family. Where my first relationship was taking his time about it, right? I would ask him all the time about what's your goal? Do you see us together in the future? Do you want to be married? Do you want to have more children? And I would never get a straight answer. And he would tell me, yes, but, right? And he just strung me along until I just was like, I've had enough. I can't take it anymore. The thing that sucked is it took me years to finally say, I've had enough of this. I can't take it no more. That's enough. I'm done. When I got into the relationship with my ex, from the very beginning, he expressed that he wanted a family. He wanted a family with me. He wanted to be with me. And remember, guys, that's what I desired the whole time. And by the time I met him, I had gotten depressed. I already had one surgery to remove my fibroids. I was trying to preserve my uterus for pregnancy. My biological clock was ticking. I just hadn't been in a relationship in years, hadn't dated nobody seriously, was like down in the dumps. And I met him and he came along and told me all the things that I wanted to hear that aligned with what I wanted and what I was looking for at the time. And I fell for it. And I ended up being with him for 4 years. And all of that wasted time is what I wanted to talk about today. Time is something you cannot get back. And what I've learned through all of the bullshit, all of the shenanigans, all of the lies, all of the mistreatment, all of the distrust, all of the stringing me along. My granny used to say, if he not pooping, get him off the pot, get off the pot. So when my first one, he didn't want to settle down and be married. So I just let him go. With the second one, he kept telling me he wanted to settle down and be married, but there was no actions towards it. And neither one of them were husband material. Let's just be honest. Neither one of them was husband material. What my abusive ex would do, because he knew I had shared with him my experience with my previous relationship, he would use that to say, oh, I'm better than this guy because I do want a family with you. I'm better than this guy because I'm not driving your car around and going to pick up my daughter and not bringing her around you. I'm not driving your car around and going to my baby mama's house and telling you one thing and really I could be doing something else. I'm not saying that this guy was cheating on me, but I'm just saying he would make me feel like, oh, this is better, when in all actuality it was a gabillion times worse, right? I never took the time to date anybody. I had in my mind frame from a very young age, marriage and children. And don't ask me where I got that from, because my brother and sister don't have that same mentality. And my parents are divorced. So I don't know if that's the reason why I desired it so bad. Because it was something that I didn't have, but I wanted it, right? But I didn't know how to get it, and nobody taught me how. I didn't realize till somebody said this to me when I was in my 30s probably. So you got to kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince. It's true. But you don't have to be in the gutter, okay? You don't have to accept all of the bullshit. You don't have to accept all of the shenanigans. And all I'm saying is to say that for me, I wasted a lot of time with two people who had no business in my life. The first time taught me a lot, but it didn't teach me enough. The second time, I invited that monster into my house because I was so dead focused on what I wanted that I wasn't paying attention to what was right in front of my face. And I wasn't paying attention to the actions. I was hearing what he was saying because he was feeding me what I wanted to hear. But his actions didn't align with that. And what I want to say to you is, don't make the same mistakes that I made. If you in a trash ass relationship right now, get the fuck out. And I'm sorry, excuse my language, but get the fuck out. It's not worth it. You cannot get your time back. I wasted so much time of my life being with two shitty individuals, and I cannot get that time back. I cannot get that time back. I don't have any regrets in my life. I don't have any regrets about anything that I've done. If I could go back and change it, I would consider it. And I say that because I always try to look at my past as a learning lesson for how to move forward. So those things make me who I am today, right? But I don't wish that on nobody. So pay attention to the red flags. Trust your gut. Don't keep your relationships a complete secret from the people who love and care about you. And what I mean by that is, yeah, you don't have to tell about everything that's going on in your house. You need to keep some of your business to yourself. But if you're in a dangerous situation, say something to somebody. I promise you, somebody will hear you. It might not be the first person you tell. Some people don't know how to help you. But keep sharing your story. Tell your loved ones. Express to them, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get out. There are national resources for you that you can use to help you get out of a situation that you're in. I just don't want y'all going down the same road that I went down, but I also don't want anybody to get hurt. So get out before it's too late. Trust your gut. Trust your instincts. Don't waste your time. It's not worth it. And when somebody show you who they are, pay attention the first time. What I'll say about inviting that monster into my home is I can't take that back. All I could do is learn from my mistakes so that I don't make that same mistake going forward. You cannot get the devil out of your house by yourself. And it takes more than prayer. You have to have help. So tell somebody. Get yourself to a place that's private. Get you a privacy screen on your phone. There are national websites where if you are in danger and you feel like someone is looking over your shoulder or checking in on you or coming in the room, you can exit out quickly and they can't see where you were, okay? But there are resources out there to help you. So I just encourage you guys to be safe. If you don't know how to get out, make a plan and make a move. And don't waste any more time. So thank y'all for joining me. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for letting me pour my heart out to you. Let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know what y'all want to hear next. Don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe. And I will see y'all next time. Love you guys.